my favorite day, Whiteboard Wednesday. Today, I want to continue on this theme that we started probably last week, and it just kind of carried it over the last the little bit. But it was about, if you remember back, we said, look, let's focus on outreach as a way to engage with potential prospects. And then we looked at some tactics yesterday as far as how to conduct proper research. What are some of the components that go into proper research? Today, let's talk about timing. So one of the questions that we should be able to answer for anybody that we're prospecting, excuse me, that's a little bit strong. Anybody where the investment is going to be a significant investment. So the value should be significant value that they're going to get, the high impact. Anybody who's making a significant investment, we should understand their fiscal year. What is their fiscal year? Now, a number of organizations are going to have fiscal years that align directly with a calendar year. So their year end is December 31st. Okay? Their year start is Jan 1. As things happen over the course of the year, they will make decisions, they will go through various planning processes, they will have certain objectives, usually split out into quarters and half year, right? All of this makes sense. Well, if we don't understand the fiscal year or the fiscal calendar that our customer has or our prospect has, how will we know when they start planning for budget for the following year, especially if we're talking about delivering something significant inside their organization, significant from a financial perspective? It's going to cost them a certain amount of money. They're going to have to plan for it. Now, we all have a certain number. Like, I've got a number in my head where I feel pretty comfortable spending that money without necessarily having to plan. I know that numbers above that, I've got to put some things in place. So if my fiscal year ends in December and we're planning for the next year, you might have a first run of budget being identified or allocated around the mid-year point as they plan for next year. Then things start to get last round or finalized in that September, October time period. Now, why is this important? If I'm expecting to get a deal done in a certain period of time, but I've not had that conversation, if I'm trying to get a deal done in FY23, starting in January, and I'm not having conversations with that organization in April, May of this year, my risk is really high. The likelihood I'm going to be able to get that deal done is pretty low. So as we work through the whiteboard, what we want to know is fiscal year. So this is one variable. Then we want to know planning cycle. This is another variable. And we want to know timeline for when things are finalized, another variable. And if we understand those, then we can be very deliberate about how we target specific organizations. So how does this shift things? Well, if I'm going to conduct outreach into organizations and I'm saying, hey, I've got to get in front of these organizations in that April, May time period, what about those who have a fiscal year that ends in March? So now they end March 31st. Well, if their fiscal year ends March 31st, their midpoint now ends up being September, and this final period ends up being Jan, Feb. So if we understand fiscal years, we can use this information to start prioritizing which organizations we conduct outreach to. So understand your timelines and engage in the appropriate time period. And then realize that when you're starting to engage with folks and you're a little bit too late, start playing that long game for the following year, because my expectation is you're still going to be in a job, or you're still going to be looking to deliver these solutions inside that organization. So when you understand fiscal year, if you answer that question properly and map things backward, you can start to get a sense for timelines. Then when you engage with your customer, ask questions, validate your understanding, start to refine your timeline specifically for each of those organizations. Thank you.